Hello everyone. Welcome to the fourth episode of Resensi Buku, brought to you by Unit Sumber dan Teknologi Pendidikan Daerah Manjung. So today is the third day of fasting and I hope that everyone is in good health. Harap semua orang baik-baik dan sihat-sihat sahaja. Thank you for tuning in. And if you missed the previous episodes, you can always search for them on our YouTube channel. And also don't forget to click subscribe. Okay. So today our guest is someone very special. She is from Kuala Lumpur, a TASA graduate from Macquarie University of Sydney. And to be frank, that she is my good friend from university. And I do think that she is the best person to review this book, as she is a bookaholic, an avid reader. I've never seen her without book at all. She's always reading, even when she's hiking. If she's not reading, she would be writing in her journal. So we would go to that topic afterwards. So let me present to you Teacher Roshada Sulaiman from SMK Sri Ampang, Kuala Lumpur. Hello, Teacher Shada. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm a bit nervous, but otherwise I'm okay.
What's that doing?
Allah.
Okay, so can you tell us the book that you're going to review today?
All right, so this is the book.
Okay. So if you people know about Trevor Noah, is that how you pronounce his name?
I think so.
He is a comedian, and he has his own shows on Netflix, and I don't know, but he's quite handsome as well. So, yeah. So,
definitely.
Would you like to continue, Shada?
All right, sure. So yeah, coming back to what Nisa had mentioned. So Trevor Noah, actually, I was a fan of his before he actually wrote this book. So he's not actually a writer. He's actually a stand-up comedian from South Africa, and he gained global prominence when he was selected to become the Daily Show host to replace Jon Stewart. And I've watched his comedy specials on Netflix, and I thought it was very funny. And when he wrote this book, I was quite skeptical because some people, they can be very funny and they can perform comedy skits, but could they actually write? So that was the big question mark. But then I read a few reviews, one of them written by Bill Gates, because Bill Gates, he reads a lot as well, and he writes reviews on his website, and he gave a very good review about this book. And then when I was browsing at the bookstore, so usually I picked it up and look at the back cover, and apparently it was named one of the best books of the year by several newspapers. So by the New York Times, USA Today, NPR, Newsday, Esquire, Booklist, and the list goes on. So so Bill Gates and a few people are not in the minority by saying that this is actually a good book. So I bought it, I read it, and I really liked it. So afterwards, I've been recommending the book to my mom, to my sister, and to my colleagues, and the people that I've managed to convince to read it, most of them, if not all, really, really liked it. So yeah, should I just go into the synopsis, Nisa?
Yes.
All right, sorry, because you... All right. So general information about the book. Okay, we'll start by with the title, Born a Crime, and the subtitle is Stories from a South African Childhood. So basically, I told you before that he was born in South Africa. And why is the title Born a Crime? So he was born back when apartheid was still alive and kicking in South Africa. So basically, apartheid is a system where, a culture of white supremacy, basically. So the white minority, even though they are the minority in that country, they control the economy, they control the political system, and all those things. So based on the rule of apartheid, you're not supposed to be mixing between or among the different races. So when Trevor Noah was born to a black South African mother and a Swiss white father, he was literally a crime for him to be born. So the book chronicles his life from his childhood right until he gained prominence as a stand-up comedian. So that's the gist of the book. Okay. All right. And what else can I say? Okay. The one of the more interesting things about the book, because they couldn't be seen together because it's against the law, sometimes the mother would pretend to be the maid. So Trevor Noah is a bit lighter skinned than the mother, so he could pass as the father's child. But if they were together, the mom, the dad, and Trevor, so definitely it's against the law. So the mom would pretend to be the maid to the family just so that they could go to the playground together or to the movies together, things like that. So the book actually deals with very heavy topics like racism, institutionalized discrimination, and how when you're oppressed economically, it's very hard for you to go up the economic ladder, things like that. So the themes and topics are very heavy. In fact, at the end of the book, there's also a theme about domestic violence because the mother, even though she's very strong and a wonderful role model to Trevor Noah, unfortunately, she's a victim, or should I say, a survivor of domestic violence. So all of these heavy themes, but the interesting thing is Trevor managed to make the book very lighthearted. So it's not like, some books, they're very heavy and you kind of like get depressed when reading all those horrible details of what people are doing to other people. So it's hard for you to finish those books. But this book is the opposite of that. So you get like the best of both worlds. It's entertaining, it's funny, and at the same time you learn all these things about another country that you've never known before. So you might have heard of the word apartheid, but when you read about what the system actually does to people and the after effects of the system, even though it has been struck down many years ago, the lingering effects are still there. So all of this that you manage to learn by reading this book. Okay, what else? Just checking my notes. Okay. Nisa, yesterday she told me that maybe I could also talk about my favorite chapter of the book. So that would be the hands down, the best chapter of the book is the last chapter. So the last chapter is, what's the title again? Okay. The last chapter is My Mother's Life. So it's quite a long chapter, but I say it's hands down the best chapter is because the whole chapter talks about the mom. So it's kind of like a biography of the mom inside his autobiography. So he talked about how the mom was unwanted by both her mother and her father, and when she was a grown woman, she wanted to have a family of her own, and she wanted to bring Trevor into the world by her own choice so that she really could have a family and for Noah to break out of the cycle of poverty and be someone. And even though she was a single mom, she obviously had a lot of challenges. It's remarkable how she overcame all of those challenges, and she really wanted Noah to have the best education. So even though maybe sometimes they don't have enough to eat, or they are living a life of poverty, but the mom made sure that Noah had access to reading materials. So she really emphasized education. So maybe the books would come from books donated by other people, from libraries. So I tried finding the specific sentence yesterday, but I couldn't find it because actually I read the book in 2018, so that was quite a number of years ago. So I don't really remember the page number, but I remembered something along the lines of the mom made sure that he had access to all the books and reading materials, and whenever he wanted to go to museums or places where he could improve his knowledge, the mom would make sure he would get to do all of those things. So obviously her investment paid off. All right. Trevor is not only a very famous comedian, he's also a polyglot. It means that he can speak multiple languages. So the last time I checked Wikipedia, so he can speak 7 languages. So I think if you have watched any of his skits or comedy specials, it's not like it's comedy with substance, I would say. So he would talk about things that very heavy topics, and make it funny in a way that people can digest. So you're laughing, but at the same time, you're still thinking about all these important issues. So that's why. So I guess the same. He managed the same feat in this book, and so another reason why I really like that chapter, so that the best chapter is the last chapter, is because the mom, it really depicts the life of someone who is trapped by domestic violence. So after Trevor's father, they were never married, but after the relationship ended, Trevor's mom got involved with another person, and that person abused her really badly, like physical abuse, and it culminated in a very tragic incident. But basically, when Trevor was called, you need to calm. Your mom is really, she's wounded, things like that. And there's this part where he realized that the nurses told him that the mom did not have health insurance, and all the care, ICU, intensive care unit, when your treatment has to come from someone has to pay for it, basically. And back then it was like his career was just beginning to take off, so he had some money, but they didn't know whether the injury would be serious or not. And he confessed that he had second thoughts, should I pay for it, or would this like ruin my life? Because if the hospital bills would run into tens of thousands, so he might not be able to carve a life for himself out there. So he said something about for a child, you make all these calculations. All right, so the exact paragraph is: people say all the time that they would do anything for the people they love, but would you really? Would you do anything? Would you give up everything? I don't know that a child knows that kind of selfless love. A mother, yes. A mother will clutch her children and jump from a moving car to keep them from harm. She will do it without thinking. But I don't think the child knows how to do that, not instinctively. It's something the child has to learn. So finally, he made a decision. He was willing to pay whatever it takes to save the mom. But later on, you'll discover the plot twist when you read the book. So I think that particular paragraph really struck a chord with me, because all of us, we love our parents, but I think if you are parents yourself, you know that your love for your children is the kind of selfless love that maybe the child would never be able to understand or be able to match. So that's probably one of the my favorite paragraphs from that book.
So, Ms. Shada, does the book have any impact on you, on your perception of life, per se?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Okay, like I told you before, I read it like 3 years ago in 2018. So I don't remember the exact lessons and things like that. But I think, like for example, if people were to ask you, Nisa, what are your favorite books of all time? What would your answer be? Like, so you would come to a book like, for example,
Yeah,
Pride and Prejudice, or for example, okay,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you're at the when you read it, you may not remember the names of all the siblings or the name of the characters, but you would remember how it made you feel, and
Yeah.
you really liked reading the book at that particular time in your life. So I think that it is the same for this book. So maybe I can't like exactly say specifically what are the life lessons, things like that, but I remember how I was struck by the book, and it really left a deep impact in me. So if I were to, rack my brains to think of a lesson that I
Yeah.
learned is okay, that's another one. Okay, he talked about you have to really double down on what you want to do. So before he struck it rich as a stand-up comedian, he was a hustler. He lived in the slums in South Africa, and he would hustle people for money and things like that. So they would come up with all these ideas. You would sell this and buy this and resell it to other people to get money, and that money will be turned back into their company, things like that. And he told me that all that energy, you think that you're working, but you're not progressing in life. So it's the same thing about it's the same thing about reading. It says it. He made a comparison. Okay, you can read a lot, but you could be reading just tweets and Facebook posts or captions. But if you translate that, if you were actually to put in the same effort in reading all those things, but you translate that into reading an actual book, you could have been reading like 20 books per year, with that same kind of effort. So that's the thing. Like, you have to kind of like choose the endeavor that you want to put your effort in, because not all of them are equal in the end. So yeah,
Okay.
probably that's one of the lessons that I've learned.
Yeah, because I do have one of my favorite book, and I
Mm-hmm.
read the book when I was in Form 4, The Coldest Winter by Sister Soldier.
Okay.
Um, it was a like you say, I can't remember anything from the book, but I know the feeling that the book evoked in me when I was at
Yeah.
16. We are at that teenage rebel kind of thing, and the book really resonates with my life at that time. So I do, yeah. Come to think of it, I might review the book next week. Who knows?
Yeah. But you know what? I know that book because you've
Yeah.
mentioned it and you've tried to get me to read the book, but I don't remember whether I've read it. So I know that you've loved the book for like forever, right?
Yes, yes. I think
Yeah.
I've loaned somebody the book, but I haven't received it back. And I tried to find a second, a second copy of it from Kinokuniya, from Popular, but I couldn't find it. So, siapa-siapa yang pinjam buku I, The Cold Winter by Sister Soldier
Please
from
return it
2000,
to Nisa.
send it to me, okay? Because I really love the book. Okay,
Uh,
so um, do you extract any moral values and try to teach your students through the examples of Noah Trevor's Born a Crime book?
um,
Do you tell your students about you share the stories with your students about how education is everything, how parents do try to provide good education for their kids?
yeah. I guess like not um it's not obvious, but yeah, maybe like in between lessons, or maybe when I'm um, um, in one of my social media posts perhaps, but so it's not like it's kind of subtle. So yeah. Oh, okay, Nisa, when you talk about that book that you mentioned just now, I just remembered this other quote that I just came across 2 days ago. So it's by Neil Gaiman, and it's the quote is, stories that you read when you're the right age never quite leave you. You may forget who wrote them or what the story was called. Sometimes you'll forget precisely what happened, but if a story touches you, it will stay with you, haunting the places in your mind that you rarely ever visit. So it really haunts that specific part of your brain. So you always have this positive connotation with regards to that book.
Yeah. I do agree. I do agree with
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming back to that lesson. Okay, maybe not specifically from the book, but I always say this to my students that when you read, you really widen your perspective. So I think we all used to read a lot of things from the USA. Like when we were growing up, it would be the Sweet Valley
Yes.
series or Goosebumps. Yeah,
Yes.
okay, things like that. So as you grow older, I think you should widen your selection. So especially now, because we can't be traveling and we can't be experiencing the cultures from other countries. So the only way that we can travel is through our mind. And when we read books, not necessarily a travelogue, but when, like, for example, this book is based on South Africa, so you kind of like know a little bit about that country that you never knew, that particular thing before. So like for other countries, like there's this author that I like from which country was it? I can't remember the country. Okay, but one of the African countries. So when she wrote, not necessarily about that country per se, but when she talked about how the family interacted, how they went to school, so you kind of like get a little bit of idea the way other people lead their lives in other countries. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like trying to learn about other people's culture and lives and countries through the third perspective, third person's
Yeah.
view. Yeah. Okay. So I do agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So as everyone know, where yes, Teacher Shada, where can you get the book? Because I've tried to find it in popular
Oh.
website, but it's not. I don't think it's there.
Oh,
So
okay.
perhaps, yeah, you can tell the audience where can you get the book? How much is the book? Or
I'm laughing because when I wanted to look where did I buy this, because I actually bought it at Popular. So nada lagi sticker Popular kat sini. So maybe because it was published in 2016, it was like a long time ago. So maybe they had run out of stock, or maybe it's no longer available. But definitely, I usually buy the books that I'm looking for, but it's not currently available in bookstores. I usually buy it at bookdepository.com. So what I like about this particular website, it's because it has free shipping. So even though like I'm ordering books that the picture books, like a compilation of all Humans of New York stories. So it's hardcover, it's very thick and heavy, but it's free shipping, and they package it in environmentally friendly packaging. So no plastic. It's just so it's very good for the environment as well. But
is that the correct website that I've tapped in?
Oh, which in the comment section? Oh yeah.
Yeah, on screen.
Mhm.
Yes. All right. So audiences, teachers, friends, and students, you can always head to this website and to find more books, or since they're not on Popular or Kinokuniya, I've tried to find it. So
Okay.
maybe I can find my Sister Soldier, The Coldest Winter here.
Yeah. Oh,
Try
but you have to be a bit patient, because it's actually sometimes the books are cheaper there than in the bookstore. But the only thing is you have to wait for a long time, because the company is actually based in the UK, and sometimes they have to ship all the way from there. So usually when I order, I would expect the book to be available to be delivered in 4 weeks' time. So if you can be a bit patient, then that's an option. But if you live nearby, I'm happy to lend you my copy, because I loved sharing the books that I loved. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a very good offer. So anyone staying in KL, you can contact Miss Shada and get her to get you a cup of coffee and talk over books. Talk about
That
books
would
over
be
the
lovely. That would be lovely.
So, Ms. Shada, do you have any advice to people out there, to audiences, to our students? Why is reading important? So it's very hard to get to inculcate the habit of reading, because we teachers as well, we couldn't find enough time to read. So I used to read one book a week when I was
Wow.
younger. But now I can't barely read one page. Tapi kalau nak baca Facebook tu boleh je.
Exactly. That's okay. This is what we had been talking before. Yeah, definitely. Okay. There are several things that I do. Okay. Firstly, I always carry a book in my bag, like what Nisa had mentioned earlier. So whenever, like, if I'm hiking, if I'm going to work, if I'm playing badminton, if I'm going shopping. So I actually Miss Sue, if you're listening, because Miss Sue is my former English teacher. She wrote this on her Facebook or Instagram. I can't remember. She did mention this. Whenever she went to buy a handbag, she would make sure that the bag is not small enough because it has to be of the right size so that a book can fit inside. So tak boleh, bag kecil-kecil tu at least a suitable size so that you can have a book inside. And the reason why you're carrying it around is because, all right, when you're waiting at the post office or at the bank, or you are at the shopping mall and your friend hasn't arrived yet, so you can just, instead of checking your phone for the updated time, you can actually read a chapter, a page from that book. So actually it calms you down. I really, really liked it. Like, for example, now we don't have assemblies because of COVID. But before this, assemblies, they can get very long. And I know you're supposed to be listening to the speeches, but sometimes maybe you're not in the right mindset to be listening to speeches, or maybe the from one person to another person, there's for a variety of reasons, technical errors or things like that. So instead of being at dead time, basically, you can actually open your book and read. And I always do this, and it's actually it plays a dual role. On one hand, you're reading and you're occupying your mind, so you're not bored. Secondly, and it always happens to me when I'm reading, then a student that's sitting nearby would always ask, "Teacher, what you're reading?" So that's your cue to actually, "Oh, I'm reading this book. This is an excellent book. You should read it," and things like that. So you should, like, that's one of the ways that you can get reading into your life by carrying a book all the time and reading while waiting. So that's like my favorite thing to do, because waiting can be very you can get very impatient and frustrated. But if you're reading, the time flies very quickly. Yeah. And then I actually made it a point. Yeah. I actually make it a point to actually read at least one chapter per day. So I know that it's hard for, sometimes I can read more than one chapter, but on days when I'm lacking time, then I would make sure just before I sleep, I would read a chapter, if not one chapter, pun at least a few pages. So I make it a habit. Or if I really couldn't slot in any reading time on that day, I would the next day I would read 2 chapters. It's like that. So it's like ingrained in you that you have to actually read.
So you recommend, instead of taking out your phone to scroll on Facebook or Shopee, take out a book instead, right? Okay, that's very good. I need to start carrying books in my handbag.
If it's not, like, for example, I have another friend who's also very good. He reads a lot, and he takes the train to go to his workplace. So it's very difficult to be balancing your book while you're on the train. So he does read, but he reads using his phone. So he prefers ebook. So if ebook is your thing, because it's not mine, I prefer the physical book. So reading on your handphone is also, you can read a lot, actually. Like, I know our mutual friend, she told me that the only reason she managed to finish this book, the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, is it? The last one, yeah, is because she bought the ebook version of the book. So she could just, like, whenever, instead of checking Facebook or Instagram, she would read a few pages of the book, and she managed to finish the whole book.
Okay, all right. So, for the audience information, everyone, Miss Shada here is also a very excellent writer. I can test to that, and she always keep a journal since your high school. Is it Shada?
Um, I'm not sure because it's more like an organizer. I actually I rarely write nowadays. It's just like to organize my time. But yeah, whenever I have like something interesting happen, I would write. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So
Okay.
previously, when we were in college, Miss Roshada is if she's not reading, she's writing, and she has a journal kept with her. So I think you put your thoughts and your emotions, and it makes you a very good writer. And can I promote your blog online?
Okay, sure,
So Miss
sure.
Roshada here, she likes to tell stories about the things, the anecdotes that happens in her class, her students. How do you say it? The daily things that happens in her classes with the funny students. So you can follow her Facebook, Roshada Sulaiman, or you can go to her blog. Uh, and then, do you have any more advice to the audience, Miss Shada, before we
Um, Okay, so for the teachers out there, okay, the reason that I share my daily anecdotes, so most of them are like light-hearted, funny ones. The reason is that okay, we've all been there before, where during PKP, a lot of parents are frustrated, and almost on a daily basis, teachers getting kecam, things like that, right? Okay, so I think it's easy for us to forget why we are in the teaching profession in the first place. So I think one of the reasons why I write all this, interesting things that happen in my class or the funny things is to get you to remember the reason why you're teaching. Because I think if you're not in it for the right reason, it's very easy for you to get burned out or to lose interest or to get very frustrated by the system. So I think in the end, you have to have a good relationship with your students and you need to enjoy teaching. So I know that all the paperwork and documentation can be very, I no, personally, I really don't like them. But if you have a strong core, you know that I love teaching. I love uh, being able to impart knowledge to my students. And when my students get it, I've been talking about all these grammar items for a while and finally they get it. So that's like amazing feeling. And then when people not in the profession, when they read the post, sometimes they can have this empathy, teacher's job, it's by no means easy. You have sometimes have very rude students or very students who are not dedicated or motivated to learn. So instead of condemning teachers, they could see it from our point of view. It's not easy. Teenagers are very hard, to tackle them, to get them to get on board with their learning. So if you're a teacher, then I highly encourage you to share your own stories so that people in your circle, they could see, how hard it is that we are trying to teach the children, their children, and that we love them. So because uh, nowadays it's like parents and teachers are from different camps. We're not working together. We're attacking one another. So if we both could see that the other party, they are trying their best. So maybe the relationship could get better, and it's for the best, in the best interest of our children, our kids, our students.
good advice for teachers out there, Miss Shada. So a friend of mine, Puan Parimala, has tried to find the book on Shopee. Definitely, apparently it's on
Oh.
Shopee. So if you want to buy the book from Noah Trevor, Born a Crime: Stories from a South African Childhood, you can go and search on Shopee. Mana lah tak buka phone je, tengok Shopee manjang. So, so everyone, we would like to thank Miss Roshada for being with us today. Sangat senang nak pujuk. I said to her, santai-santai je, Miss Shada. And she really,
All right, thanks for convincing me, Nisa, because I would never I'm too self-conscious to be doing it. So thanks for convincing me. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Okay. So I put in the comment section for the audience to register today, but give the Guru Setia 1 week time lah for us to generate the sijil and also to put your name on SPL KPM. So you can register on the link that I've given in the comment section. So and also don't forget, next week on Tuesday we have the 5th episode with another guest. This one is a local one from Manjung. Okay, so thank you Miss Roshada. Thank you
Alright,
everyone.
my pleasure.
Stay safe, jaga SOP, jaga jarak, selamat berpuasa and do read. Bacalah buku. Satunya bulan April, bulan Galakan membaca. Okay, bye-bye everyone.
Alright, bye bye.